Members, this is Newell Augur coming to you from a stormy Augusta on Friday, March 9th with this week's update from Augusta. Just wanted to again reiterate how great it was to have such a turnout at our legislative day last Thursday. Still getting some good feedback from various legislators that we had a chance to talk with that day. One of the other things that we I neglected to mention in our last week's update was the same day we had our update, Ellie Espling, the minority leader in the House, or minority whip, and Aaron Herbig, the majority leader in the House, penned an op-ed which appeared in the Press Herald newspapers the same day of our legislative day, calling on the legislature to essentially pass a budget, or at least pass a supplemental budget item that would give us that additional money to keep the increase for the home-based care reimbursement rate at the $20 an hour that we've been looking at, or that we've had for the last 4 months at least. So I think the momentum continues, and having that legislative day was a big part of it. We're hoping we'll hear some news coming up shortly, and I've been hearing that the Appropriations Committee is meeting and putting together a list of other items that there is some unanimous agreement on that the rates need to be reimbursed. But I think for the time being, we're at the top of that list, and we're just going to keep our nose to the grind and make sure that that's where we end up at the end of the year. Some other big news this week. Earlier on Tuesday, there was a work session on LD 842, which was the bill to try to get the Section 40 acute home-based care rates increased. As you will recall, there was a big discrepancy in the numbers that the Burns and Associates study came up with. We got the support of all the Democrats on the committee and maybe one or two Republicans. A number of the other Republicans on the committee are a little gun-shy, and they root that opposition, if you will, in the fact that the Burns numbers are so far off of what ours are. Our strategy, at least going forward, is to try to get the department to call for a meeting with us and Burns so we can sort of be in the same room and take a look at these numbers, or get at least some explanation as to why the numbers that we've presented to them aren't numbers that they can work with. So more on that. We're going to try to obviously keep the pressure on that one as well in the coming weeks, and take a look. There are a number of legislators who didn't vote yet, and they'll have a chance to do that by the end of the day today, so we'll keep an eye on that. Another interesting development is with the minimum wage bill, which has now been voted out of the Labor, Commerce, and Economic Development Committee. It was a very contentious discussion. The Republicans are all supporting a measure that keeps the minimum wage increase at 12, but gets there over the next 4 years as opposed to the next 2. If you recall, the referendum it was asking for a $1 increase up till $12 ending in 2020. The Democrats on the committee all support that current proposal that's now law. The Republicans again want to stretch it out over the next 4 years at 50-cent increments. They also want to introduce a training wage, and they want to remove the automatic adjustment to the inflation index. The business community, I think, is going to really try to push this. I don't know if they have Democrats lined up or other independents lined up. They're going to need an additional 6 votes over and above the 70 Republicans in the House. That's going to be a pretty interesting battle coming down the stretch. And as proof of that, the LCRED committee had a public hearing to nominate George Gervais as the head of the Housing Authority. He had been the head of Economic and Community Development for the last 7 years, and that nomination was rejected by all the Democrats on the committee, which will mean it's going to be pretty tough for him to get confirmed. And that gives you a kind of an indication of just the level of discord going on right now, at least in that committee, and unfortunately that may translate into the general legislature as a whole. So we're going to try to keep focused on home-based care and make sure that the the current level of agreement around our issues continues until they get that bill signed. Have a great week, and hope you're successfully dug out of the snow, and we'll talk to you next Friday.